the fiscal policy from 1946 up to the present time. The impact of war in the Philippine economy was effectively disparate, as Manila, the capital, was razed to the ground while the rest of the Philippines was relatively untouched. The United States may have declared the Philippines independent, but as the country needed rehabilitation funds from the United States, the dependency of the Philippines to the Americans was an opportunity to be taken advantage of by the colonial administrators. There was a severe lack of funds in 1949. No efforts made to improve the tax collection. That is why U.S. advised to adopt the direct taxation, but President Manuel Rojas declined the proposal. Impetus for economic growth came during the time of President Elpidio Quirino through the implementation of import and exchange control that led to import substitution development. This policy allowed for the expansion of a viable manufacturing sector that reduced economic independence of imports. Tax revenue in 1953 increased twofold compared to 1948. While the succeeding presidencies of Magsaysay, Garcia, and Macapagal promised to study the tax structure and policy of the country through the creation of a tax commission in 1959 by means of Republic Act No. 2211. Under the Marcos authoritarian regime, the tax system remained regressive. During Marcos' years, tax system was still heavily dependent on indirect taxes, which made up to 70% of total tax collection. As Corazon Aquino took the helm of the government after its revolution, she reformed the tax system through the 1986 Tax Reform Program, and its goal is to improve the responsiveness of the tax system, promote equity by ensuring that similarly situated individuals and firms bear the same tax burden, promote growth by withdrawing or modifying taxes that reduce incentives to work or produce, and improve tax administration by simplifying the tax system and promoting tax compliance. A major reform in the tax system introduced under the term of Aquino was the value-added tax that was signed in 1986 and put to effect in 1988 with the following features: uniform rate of 10% on sale of domestic and imported goods and services, and 0% on exports and foreign currency denominated sales. 10% in lieu of varied rates applicable to fixed taxes, advanced sales tax, tax on original sale, subsequent sales tax, compensating tax, miller's tax, contractor's tax, broker's tax, film lessors and distributor tax, excise tax on solvents and matches, and excise tax on processed videotapes. 2% tax on entities with annual sales or receipts of less than 5,200,000. Adoption of tax credit method of calculating tax by subtracting tax on inputs from tax on gross sales. Exemption of the sale of basic commodities such as agriculture and marine food products in their original state, price-regulated petroleum products, and fertilizers. And lastly, additional 20% tax on non-essential articles such as jewelry, perfumes, toilet waters, yachts, and other vessels for pleasure and sport. Along with the tax reform came the administrative reforms such as the restructuring of the Department of Finance and its attached agency, the Bureau of Internal Revenue through the Executive Order of 127. As a result of the tax reform of the Aquino admin, both tax and revenue effort rose, increasing from 10.7% to 15.4% in 1992. The VAT base was also broadened in 1997 to include services through Republic Act 7716. The features of the improved VAT law were as follows: restore the VAT exemptions for all cooperatives such as agricultural, electric, credit, or multi-purpose and others, provided that the share capital of each member does not exceed to 515,000 pesos. expanded the coverage of the term simple processes by including broiling and roasting, effectively narrowing the tax base for food products, expanded the coverage of the term original state of including molasses. Exempted from the VAT are the following: importation of meat, sale or importation of coal and natural gas in whatever form or state, educational services rendered by private educational institution duly accredited by the Commission in Higher Education or CHED, house and lot and other residential dwellings valued at 51 million and below, subject to adjustment using the Consumer Price Index. And lastly, lease of residential units with monthly rental per unit of not more than 58,000 subject to adjustment using CPI. The succeeding term of President Joseph Estrada in 1998 was too short to constitute any change in the tax system. Then, Vice President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo was swept to power through another IDSA revolution. As president, she undertook increased government spending without adjusting tax collections. This resulted in a large deficit from 2002 to 2004. The government had to look for additional sources of revenue, and in 2005, the Expanded Value Added Tax or EVAT was signed into law as Republic Act 9337. This expanded the VAT base, subjecting to VAT energy products such as coal and petroleum products, and electricity generation, transmission, and distribution. Select professional services were also taxed. On February 2006, the VAT tax rate was also increased from 10% to 12%. As President Benigno Aquino III succeeded President Arroyo in 2010, he promised that no new taxes would be imposed and additional revenue would have to come from adjusting existing taxes. The administration ventured into the adjustment of excise tax on liquor and cigarette or the sin tax reform motivations, for which was primarily fiscal, public health and social order related considerations. Republic Act 10351 was passed and government revenues from alcohol and tobacco excise taxes increased. Collections from tobacco and alcohol in 2015 made up 1.1% of the gross domestic product, and the improvement in tax collection resulted in the Philippines receiving a credit rating upgrade into investment grade status. The sin tax reform was an exemplar on how tax reform could impact social services, as it allowed for the increase of the Department of Health budget and free health insurance premiums for the poor people enrolled in PhilHealth increase. And lastly, the administration of the new President Rodrigo Duterte promised tax reform, particularly on income taxes, as it vowed to lower income tax rates shouldered by working Filipinos. The present income tax scheme of the country is the second highest in Southeast Asia, and the current laws on income taxes were outdated as they were drafted 2 decades ago. The proposed tax reform also seeks to limit VAT exemptions and increase excise taxes on petroleum products and automobiles. It is hoped that reforms in the tax policy in the country will result in the much desired economic development that will be felt even by the lowest classes in society. So, that would be all about the fiscal policy from 1946 up to the present time in the Philippines.